So open VS Code and open your output on the browser. We are going to start by creating a layout. Okay.
Okay, Anna.
Right. So go into your pages directory, and let's start off by creating a new page over here. Let's just call this layout.jsx. Okay. All of you create layout.jsx and react to my message once you've done that. This is going to be a very simple layout, nothing fancy or anything. All we're going to do is create a little nav bar. In Material UI, in Material UI, you would call this nav bar the app bar. It's the same as what you would do in Flutter, right? Or when you're doing, say, native Android development, you would call it an app bar. So that's what we're going to call it too. And we're going to have an app bar. We're going to have a sign out button on the app bar. We're going to have the name of our app on our app bar. And we are also going to receive a prop, which is the component that is wrapped in the layout, and we're going to render it as a child below the nav bar. That's all we're going to do in this. Okay, so let's just do that. 22. There's 30 of you on the live stream, so I expect 30 reactions to that message. Alright, first thing I want you to do is import app bar from Material UI's core library. Okay. Second thing I want you to do is import the toolbar, and I'll tell you why. I'll show you why in the output later on. And third thing we're going to import is something called typography. Typography is a way of defining styled text in Material UI. Okay, so it's basically like a wrapper for text. That's it. That's all typography is. You can assign different styles to it, like color, size, weight, transformation, all kinds of stuff. Okay, so that's only for text. The word typography is literally referring to that text. Okay. And once you've imported typography, we're going to import the button from Material UI. It's going to be a Material Design button again. Right, and lastly we'll have to import Firebase, because we'll be using Firebase to do a logout function in the same layout. Remember I told you we have to put a logout function. So the way we're going to design it is that we're going to have an app bar, and we're going to have the name of your app on the left side of the app bar, and on the right side of the app bar we're going to have a button called logout, and when the user clicks on that button, we're going to have to call a logout function that is linked to Firebase, and Firebase will log the user out and redirect them. So we'll need both the Firebase function here as well as the use history function, so we can do the redirection. Okay, so let's just import that. Import Firebase from /Firebase, and sorry, /fire. No, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. It's Firebase /app, and import use history from React DOM. So that's all of our imports. So once you finished all the imports, just react to my message. I'll copy paste all of the imports into the Discord chat so you guys can copy it. And once you've done that, just react to my message. 23. Make it fast, guys. Copy, paste if you've gotten it wrong. Don't waste much time on imports. $29. Okay, perfect. We're gonna export a default functional component now. So export default function layout and pass the props. Receive the props inside it, and we're gonna type in a function inside this. Okay, so just do that really quick, and let's do a return statement inside it as well. And inside a return statement, we are going to return multiple children. So when you return multiple children, you would wrap multiple children inside a common parent, right? And in case you don't want to insert an unnecessary element, you can simply do this, and you can insert all of your children within those empty pair of brackets. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to render the app bar itself. So to render the app bar, we would simply do app bar and close it. So an entire app bar gets generated now. Now inside your app bar, you need to have a toolbar, because whatever you see inside the app bar is basically what's known as a toolbar. So you need a toolbar, and we're going to do that as well. And once you have a toolbar, we are going to have the name of our application on the left side, right? So to have the name of our application, what we're going to do is insert a typography element here. And inside a typography element, you can type the name of your application. So I'm going to type mine. You can type the name of your application, and once the typography element has been created, we are going to create a little button that's going to be on the right side of the app bar. So just do button, and inside this, let's just say logout. Okay. Once that is done, you can simply put in the word props.children. So you're basically exporting the props that you received. But whatever the element was that you received, you're importing it. You're getting it as a parameter, and then you're just exporting it as a child of the props. That's it. So that's the entire structure for our app bar. Our app bar doesn't have any design yet. It doesn't look good. That's because we haven't, added any CSS attributes. We haven't styled it in any way. So we're going to do that. But this is just the raw HTML structure. So make sure you finish the structure first, and then we'll start adding the styling into it. And once styling is done, we can wire up the logic. All of you completed it here. I want to see 30 reactions again. There's actually more than 32 now, so that's good. All of you make the basic HTML structure. When I say attributes, attributes are always inside the tag, okay? On the third day, or I think the second day or the third day, I saw a lot of people putting the attribute, especially the style attribute. You guys inserted it on a blank line just like that. The style attribute is just like the style attribute in HTML. You got to insert it into the tag itself, okay? So be a little more careful when you're looking at what I'm doing, and then try to replicate the exact same thing. Don't don't make silly mistakes like that. 25. Okay, make it faster, guys. We gotta add CSS styling, so you might get confused if you're behind on this. $26. Okay. 6 of you remaining. Okay, good. Okay, now what I want you to do is, our app bar needs a position attribute, okay? Because your app bar by default, when you have long content and you scroll down, your app bar will automatically scroll and it'll go under the fold, okay? So you need to make sure that your app bar remains on top no matter how long the content is. So as you keep scrolling your content, your app bar will always remain fixed to the top, okay? Just like that. So to do that, you're going to pass in a position attribute. And we're going to say position static. Oh wait, position fixed actually, sorry. I see only 29 reactions on the completed button, on the completed checks. Make it really quick. Once you've done the position on that, let's go to the toolbar and style the toolbar now. So I'm just going to do toolbar, class name, and we're going to insert a bunch of bootstrap classes into the toolbar, okay? First thing we're going to do is make it a flex utility, okay? The entire toolbar is going to have flex properties. All the children of the toolbar are going to have flex properties on them. And I'm going to say deflex. And remember how I told you I want the name of the application on the left side and the button on the right side? So to take children and then, you know, push them to the two ends, you would use a class called justify content between. Okay, you can do justify content center, around, start, end, and between. So they'd position the children accordingly. Between will push them to the two ends. So I'm going to say justify content between, and this is going to push, you know, typography to the left side, and it'll push button to the right side. So that's basically what we're doing with the bootstrap classes in here. Once that is done, I want you guys to start styling the typography element, because that's the name of our application. I want it to be bold and I want it to look nice. So what we're going to do is I'm going to say variant, and we can pass in any heading variant, h1, h2, h3, whatever. It can be anything. So I'm just going to say h1, no sorry, I'm going to say h6 in here. I want a small heading, but I want it to be bold. So then I'm going to do class name, and I'm going to say font weight bold. So the notebook is going to render in a level 6 heading, which is the smallest type of heading, but it's also going to be thick and bold because we passed in a class name of font weight bold, okay? So I hope all of you have completed up until here. React to my second message if you guys have completed all the way up until here. I'll give you guys exactly 2 minutes. I want all of you to complete it really quick. Make it quick, guys. 24, 6 of you, 8 of you remaining. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to style the button itself, okay? So the first thing we're going to specify is a variant for the button. And buttons can come in different variants. We're going to use a variant called contained, okay? Outline, there's 3 different variants as you can see: contained, outlined, and text. So just use contained. When you use contained, what happens is it appears as an actual button. It's going to have a width, it's going to have a different background color, and it's going to look like an actual elevated button, okay? So just do variant contain, and we're going to pass a couple of bootstrap classes to this. First thing I want you to do is pass the font weight bold class. So everything, the word logout is going to be in bold, okay? That's one thing. Another thing about bootstrap buttons is that by default, whatever you put inside a button will be rendered in uppercase. So the word logout won't, you know, come out looking like this. It'll come out in uppercase. So I don't want it in uppercase. I want it to be in lowercase with the first letter alone in caps. So I'm just gonna say text capitalized. That's a bootstrap class that'll take the first letter of this word alone, which is L, and it'll make it capitals, and the rest of it will come out in lowercase. So this would basically override material UI styling on the button. So that's about the UI portion of it. If you guys have completed it up until here, the layout should be ready, and if it is, we can simply open home and wrap the home component inside the layout. So do it up until here and react to my message really quick. Day-24. Okay, make it quicker, guys. Day-27. Okay, next thing I want you to do is go to your home.jsx page. Cut everything inside the return statement. Cut it, don't delete it, cut it. And we are going to put a little layout in here, and we're going to paste our content inside the layout. The layout hasn't been imported yet, so let's just import it on top. And that's it. So you have a home component whose contents are wrapped inside of a layout, and you've imported your layout from the layout.jsx file. So whenever a person goes to /home, they are going to encounter a page that has the content of home, except it's also going to have a layout around it. It's going to have the nav bar and all the other stuff around it. So once you guys have completed all of that, you can check your outputs in the browser. So I'm just going to sign in, and hopefully the app isn't broken. It should show up. Right, so I got my output, as you all can see. It says there's an app bar and there's a whole button over here that does basically nothing, and the name of my application, and then we have a whole app bar on top. So that's what the app bar does, except I think there's one little problem. Let me check. Okay, yeah, there's one little problem though. If you guys have completed it up until here, just let me know, and I'll tell you what the little problem is, and we can fix it really quick. Tell me if you've gotten the output. If you can see the app bar alone, you won't see the word home because we have a little potential problem. We'll fix it in a bit. So just tell me if you've gotten the output, if you've gotten the app bar and the button, and they all look just the way they do for me, okay? Tell if you got the output. The others, are you guys stuck? Let me know if you haven't gotten the output. In case you run into an error and there's no output, stop the app and start it again, because we just created the layout, right? So in some cases the layout.jsx file may not be detected by React, and it'll show up as a missing file. So stop the app and restart it in case you get an error. If you don't, you should see an output like the one I just showed you. If you're stuck, please let me know, I'll help you. There's only 11 reactions, I need 19 reactions more. 20 reactions actually. 12, okay. Mark dot failed to comply. Toolbar is not defined. Did you import toolbar on top? Look at your layout file. You may not have imported toolbar properly.
Yeah. Okay, I've imported it, but it's not like that. அந்த இது மாதிரி தருது கிரேயா உங்களுக்கு கீழே இருக்குல்ல இம்போர்ட் Firebase from Firebase app அந்த மாதிரியே எனக்கு அங்கே டூல் பார்.
Check the spelling of toolbar. T capital, B should be lowercase. Both places.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Okay. Can you mute yourself? Yeah. What about the others? 17 reactions. Make it quick, guys. We have a whole bunch of stuff to do. And tomorrow's a holiday, by the way. Tomorrow's Sunday, right? So you guys have a day off. I would encourage you to, I don't know, if you're interested, you can make a few, design changes, change the colors probably, and try stuff like that. But don't delete stuff. Don't try logic on your own. It might become complicated, but in terms of personalizing your app and not making it look exactly like mine, you can try something if you're interested. But tomorrow is an off day. We'll come back on Monday and we'll finish what we started. Okay. It's not showing a home. Yeah, it won't show home for now. That's a small error that I'll help you guys fix. For now, just leave it as it is. If you get the app bar alone, it's fine. I'll show you how to fix it later on. All of you done? 21 outputs. What about the rest? Guys, if you don't see the word home, it's okay. It'll be, the word home is there on the screen, except it is hidden underneath the app bar. That's a small problem with the way HTML lays out elements for us in the browser. We'll fix it in a sec. So just react to that message if you've gotten the app bar alone in the output. 27. 28. Come on, guys. I got logout style in a different way. Did you make sure to use the exact same style that I used? It should say variant contained, class name font weight bold, and text capitalize. Just make sure you got those two right, and it should look exactly the way it does for me. If not, take a little screenshot of your layout.jsx file, the part where you wrote the buttons code. Take a screenshot of it and set it on the group. Let me see. Okay, so the mistake is that I'm gonna show you what the mistake is in my output. Okay, let's go back to our browser, and I'm gonna recreate the same error that you guys had previously. Right, so now it looks like this, right, for all of you. So I'm just gonna open my inspector, and inside inspector we are going to go into elements, and over here what we'll do is we will right click and inspect. Okay, that's the HTML element. Let's right click the nav bar and inspect it. If you look at the bottom here, you see it says h2 home, right? So it's actually in the DOM. It's in the actual DOM, and it has been rendered, but it doesn't show up because when you move your mouse over the element over here on the right side, the blue line shows up over here, right, on the nav bar. That's because what happens is if your nav bar, if this entire nav bar or this header has a position of fixed elements will show up on top of all the other elements. They will not respect the elements around them. So the problem is with the way we have made this fixed, in case, let's say I switch the element to a static element, it'll start respecting all the other elements around it, and it'll automatically push the word home down below it. So in order to make that fix, all you got to do is go back to your code, and in here, if you guys look, we say position fixed, right? Just change that word to static and hit save. Once you change it to static, and you look at your output, it should automatically just turn to this. It should automatically fix itself. Now what happens is if your content is longer than the viewport and you scroll, the app bar is going to get hidden. In order to fix that, we'll have to make it fixed, but there's another potential issue. What you have to do is you have to create another element which matches the exact height of the header and then insert it into the home component. So that way what happens is there's a dummy element that matches the height of the header underneath it. So that will push all the other stuff below. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense to you, but if it doesn't, then just forget it. We'll deal with it later on as we make aesthetic changes towards the end of this not this session, but this course. So for now, if you got in the output so far, just react to my message. $17. Okay, make it quicker, guys. Just change fixed to static. That's the only change you'll have to do. $21 people got an output. Vishnu, let's see. The button variant is contained, not container. Look at the spellings very carefully. Who else? 23 outputs. Make it really quick. If you have doubts, ask me. $24 outputs. What about the other 6? We can't waste any more time on this. Tell me if you have an error and we'll fix it ASAP. Don't just sit there. The app name and button are closer. Take a screenshot of your code and send it to me. I don't think you added justify content between properly. You should add deflex and justify content between. Make sure you spelled it right. If that's done, then it should automatically move to the ends. If not, send a screenshot. I'll inspect the output. The other 4 of you, who are the other 4? Three of you. Okay, if there's 3 of you remaining, tell me what your doubt is, or I'm just gonna move on. $29. Okay, 26 people got the output. Let's see. The words justify content between shouldn't have hyphens. Look at the code carefully. You should have hyphens instead of spaces. 26 got the output. Guys, I'm not going to ask you again. Three of you have to either get the output or ask me what the problem is. Don't make me wait. Alright then, I'm just gonna move on to the next. Logout button is different. Check the code for your logout button. make sure the button has the exact same classes that I told you to. Variant contained and font weight bold, text capitalized. Please read what I'm writing carefully. So many of you just turned container into contain and contain into container. Yesterday I saw loader into loaded and loaded into loader. Like you always assume that I'm saying one thing when it says something else on the screen. You look at half the word and you just type it in. Make it really quick. Right, I'm just gonna go to the next section now. Next what you gotta do is go to the button and we are going to attach an on-click listener. Remember I told you when you click on the logout button it has to log you out. So I'm gonna attach an on-click listener to this. On-click is lower camel case, O lowercase, C uppercase. Okay, make sure of the spelling. And I'm gonna say on-click logout. Okay, that's the name of the function. And we don't have the function yet, so it's gonna throw an error if I save the document. This isn't defined yet, we're gonna create it. So add onClick is equal to logout. That's a function call. So every time a person clicks on the logout button, it'll call the logout function. This function is going to be defined by us on top here. Okay, so let's just put the function in here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say function logout. So we're going to define the function, and once we do that, I'm going to copy paste a piece from the Firebase documentation. Give me a sec. I'll just paste it in here. This is from the documentation, so I'm letting you guys copy paste that entire piece of code. Once you've done that, just react to my message. That's literally from the documentation. I haven't changed anything. I've just copied it and we're going to paste it in here. This is going to take care of the sign out automatically. Copy paste that code and react to my message really quick. Also, I haven't asked anybody questions today, so I'm going to pick some random person. Let's see. Harshavardhan, are you here?
Yes, now.
Okay, so what does the logout function basically do? Can you explain very briefly?
It's simply logout. It's temporarily removes the account, I think.
Doesn't remove the account. Okay, forget what happens on the back end. Let's just say it's too complicated. I'll tell you about it. On the front end, what should you do when a person is logged out?
It returns to the login page.
Yeah, returns to login page. So what we need here in this code is a redirect function. So
Yes.
yeah, so to redirect you have to use history, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to import, we're going to create a constant here. Let's call this const history, and we're going to call the use history function. So use history is going to return the stack, the entire history stack to the entire object to history. And then what we're going to do is when the sign out has been successful, we're going to say history dot push slash. So it takes the slash route and it pushes it into the history, which basically forces React to redirect the user to the slash route. So if sign out is successful, they should be taken back to the slash route. Okay, that's basically what this does. We are not going to do error handling. All this is for later. We'll do all this later. I'm focusing only on core logic here, like I said. So write the function, do this little thing here, and then that's it. We're done with this file. That's all of the code in the layout file. Really simple layout. It's under 50 lines, even with comments and all that. So once you do that, let me see if you guys have finished coding it. React to my message once you've finished putting those two lines in. Once that is done, you guys should see the output really. You should see the output working just the way it was intended. So if I click on logout, it's going to take me out to the slash route. If I click on the back button, you can look at the address bar really quick, right? And it says slash home for a second, and then it doesn't take you to the home page. So let me go to slash home manually. There's a loading, and then it takes me back to the index page. It doesn't let me log in because I'm signed out. So I click on sign in again. It opens a pop-up for me, and I choose my Google account, and it signs me in and takes me to the home page. Right? And now what happens is if I go to say just the slash route, it automatically redirects me to the home page again. And now when I click on logout, it takes me back to the slash route. That's the entire login logout flow. Okay, so once you get all of that, just respond to my message. All of you respond to my message really quick, in case you've gotten this working. If it doesn't, then let me know. We'll fix any potential mistakes that we've made. Don't waste time by trying to take too long to figure it out on your own. If you're stuck, then just ask me, we'll fix it really quick. Also, if you're stuck with something and you think it might be some stupid mistake, like say a wrong spelling or some sort of punctuation, or like some very silly error, and you're scared to ask it in public, don't worry, because no matter how experienced you get, all of us would make these mistakes. There have been times when I have ditched a project for like a whole week because of one little punctuation error, and then I'd have come back and then be like, oh, so this is what the error was, and then I'll fix it in a second. So it's common, okay? So don't feel bad about asking in public. In case you feel your error is stupid, we can still fix it. It's normal. It's very normal. So yeah, just make sure you keep up the speed. Don't keep the entire class waiting. Okay. "23 people, 7 of you remaining. Tell me what the problem is, really quick." Okay, failed to compile. Let's see. Did you wrap use history within a pair of braces, Sala Prasad? It should be inside a pair of braces. When you're importing a named export, you should wrap it in braces. These little braces around use history. Do that, it should work. Okay, perfect. The rest of you, 24 done. 25, 5 of you remaining. "26. Okay, 4 of you. Make it really quick, or I'm gonna move on to the next part. I'm just gonna close the file and move on to the next bit if you don't have anything to. No? Alright, so I'm gonna go to home page now, and we're going to do some work on the home page. First thing I want you to do is delete the word home. We don't want the home in it anymore. Instead, what we're gonna do is, okay, here's a plan. Okay, I'm gonna show you the whiteboard, and I'm gonna tell you what the plan is for the output on the home page. So let's go to whiteboard, and let's see. So up until now, what we have done is we have created a whole page. This is really bad. Okay, excuse the very poor line. You know what? Clear this. Let's just say you have a whole app bar on top, and app bar has the name of your application here, and we have a logout button on the right side, and the rest of the page remains empty, right? So what we're gonna basically do is, over here, I want you to create a text box that says create a node, blah blah blah, and at the bottom you have a small button that says create. Okay, and all you're gonna do is you're gonna write logic to connect this to Firestore, and when a person clicks on this, you're going to take whatever they've written inside this and send it out to Firestore. And once you send it to Firestore and it is successful, you're gonna clear the inputs over here, so the box is gonna become empty, and at the bottom we're going to show a little snack bar. You guys have seen snack bars in Android, right? Even if you're part of the Flutter course, you would have seen what a snack bar is. It's a little pop-up, overlay pop-up that shows up at the bottom. You can place it anywhere you want, but I'm going to do one at the bottom, on the bottom in the center. So this is going to be green in color, and I'm going to say created successfully inside this. Okay, that's the entire output. That's all we're going to build today. Okay, So I want you to keep up. It's been only 45 minutes. We're making good progress. Let's just get this done really quick. So yeah, let's go back to the browser, to the code, and delete the words home and h2, and I'm going to create a little component. So remember I showed you the little text box with the button. I wanna create that as a separate functional component and then import it. Like I said, you take an entire page with multiple pieces and you break it down into multiple UI components, right? So that text box and that button is one UI component. I'm gonna export it from a different functional component and then import it here. So I'm just gonna say create node. The hell? Okay, create node. That's gonna be the name of my component that I'm importing. So on top I'm gonna say import create node from dot slash. Okay, here's a little trick. I'm gonna say dot slash components slash home slash create node, and I'll tell you why this path is different. Now what happens is, like I said, you have a pages directory on the left side, right? Okay, wait, let's just you guys just type this in and I'll explain what we're gonna do next. Just type that in first and then react to my message. $14 people. Okay, type it in really quick. Dot slash components slash home slash create node, the name of the component. Assign it to I import it as create node, and then just render it down here inside the layout. That's all we're gonna do. You won't get any output. It'll throw an error because we don't have any of these components created yet. So just do this really quick and react to my message. $26. Okay, I'm just gonna move on to the next part. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to close this. This is done. We don't have to do anything else to the home right now. Close home, close layout. Don't have to do anything else to it. Now if you look at the left side, you have a pages directory, right? The problem is you have, let's say your app has multiple pages, say 30, 40 different pages. Now what happens is, as you break each page down into multiple UI components, you have to import each component, right? So then what happens is, if you put all those components inside the pages directory, it becomes messy. Imagine each page has 10 components and you have 30 pages. That's like 300 components, right? So basically 300 files in the pages directory. It becomes really messy. So the easiest way to manage it is to create another directory inside pages called components. And inside components, for each page that we have, we're gonna create one folder each. So my first page over here is the home page, right? So I'm going to create another folder inside components called home. And inside home, I'm going to put all of the components that the home page requires, okay? So let's do that now. Let's start off by creating the create node. Create node.jsx. Once you've done that, react to my message. Respond to my message, react to my message once you've created this structure. Pages, components, home, create node. All folder names should start with lowercase. Component name should start with uppercase. If it's not in uppercase, it'll be a problem. 8 people have only created. What about the others? 21 people remain. Components, home, and then create node.js, okay? One inside the other. Make sure you don't mess up the order. Once you've done that, we can start writing our create node function. Create node is not that big, honestly. It's kind of minimal, but there's like a lot of logic that we're gonna have to write. So make sure you finish all the way up until here really quick, because once we move on to the next bit, it's going to require your full concentration to look at how we're gonna do this, okay? All of you done? 26 reactions. 27. Okay, 28. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to import import a few things inside this file. First thing I want you to do is import something called useState. I'll tell you what this is for when we're using useState, okay? For now, just import useState, and this would be from React. And once you import useState, I want you to import button from @material UI core / button. Then what I want you to do is import something called text field, which is basically your input box, okay? And we're also going to import something called snack bar, which is the little notification thingy that pops up at the bottom. And after which we're going to import something called material UI alert. The snack bar doesn't have any style of its own. It's just a box that appears on a random location in the page. What gives the box its color and the styling is something called an alert component. So we're going to put the alert component inside the snack bar. So to do that, I'm going to import the me UI alert from material UI core / sorry, this would be a little different. What you do is you do material UI / lab / alert. This doesn't come with the core package. It comes with another package called lab, which we will have to install. I'll do that in just a minute, but just make sure you get the spelling right. @material UI / lab / alert. Alert alone comes from the /lab folder, okay? And lastly, import Firebase from Firebase /app, and import the Firebase configuration // and then Firebase. Save. That's all of our imports. I'm gonna copy that. Gonna paste it in the chat again. Once you're finished importing all of that, just react to that message. You know the drill. People, 16. Make it fast, guys. Copy pasting this is easy. Just copy paste it, don't complicate it. Once you've done that, open the command line inside your VS Code, and command line should open in the folder that we're working in already, right? And as I said, this material UI /lab is not something that we have installed previously. We've only installed material UI / core. So I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to paste it in here. And we're going to have to insert the words npm I in front of it, okay? npm I at material UI / lab. Put that command in, hit enter. It should install this package. I'm just going to type that command in. React to that message once you paste that command into your command line and hit enter. It should install the lab package from material UI. Do that really quick and react to my message. So my package finished installing. I'm going to close this and I'm ready to start the next bit of coding. I hope you all have followed along up until here. There's only 24 people who have done the imports. What about the other 6? 6 or 5? How many are you? I don't know how many guys are here. Make it quick, guys. If you have problems, tell me. If you finish doing it, react to the message. $27, $28, good. $26. Anybody facing any problems, please let me know now. No problems yet? Guys, we have 1 hour more. We can finish this if we work towards this really quick. You guys have gotten faster actually compared to what we were on day 1. We've gotten like so much faster at writing React code, because I think you guys got the hang of what files contain what and the syntax and stuff like that, right? There are still certain mistakes that you're making, but it's only day 4 with React, day 5 with React, right? But overall the speed has increased a lot, so that's a good thing. Next, what I want you to do is export a functional component as usual. So let's say export default function, create node, and inside which we're going to write the actual return statement that returns the text box. Do that really quick. And what I want you to do is, let's see. Yeah, first thing I want you to do is create an empty parent container, because we have 2 children. One child will be the div that holds the text input and the button. The other child will be the snack bar that appears at the bottom on success. So just create an empty parent and let's put a div inside this. Again, use the Emmet syntax that I taught you. In case you don't have Emmet set up, people like Silva Prasad, I don't know if you figured it out. If in case you don't have it figured out, just type it in manually, okay? Pretty easy. Div dot container. So I'm going to create a div element and I'm going to give it a container class, and I'm also going to say column MD8. So on medium screen devices, that is devices that are less than 768 pixels wide, it's going to take up 8 out of 12 columns. This is bootstrap stuff. If you don't understand, it's okay, just just do what I'm doing and watch a bootstrap course. I did a bootstrap workshop last year in July, I think. You guys can go back and watch those videos. So there's an explanation of what all of these terms are on that in that series of videos as well. So medium screen, 8 columns, and Excel screen I wanted to be 6 columns wide. Okay, and Excel screen is basically anything above 1440 pixels in width. And last thing I want to do is to space it, give it a margin top of 4 units. So it's gonna be pushed down from the app bar just a little bit. So once I do all of that, hit enter, it should expand into an element. All if you do this and then react to my message. All if you create the container and then react to my message really quick. 19. It's not so hard, is it? I'm just gonna copy the entire thing in case some of you don't have Emmet and you're stuck. I'll copy the entire thing and paste it in the chat. Copy paste it into your VS Code. Guys, if you've finished this, react to the message on top. 24, okay. Okay, I'm just gonna continue if you guys is not gonna respond. Next thing I want to do is create a form, and just type the word form here, enter, Emmet will autocomplete, and form action hash. So we're not gonna attach any script to this. Instead, I'm just creating the form. So when you guys, I'll tell you why later on why we're putting a form, even though we're not using form functionality exactly. So just create an empty form, and once you create the form, you're gonna create the actual text field itself. Okay. So what I want you to do is type text field, and sorry, this will not have a closing tag. This is a self-closing tag. So just do text field, and once you do that, we should be able to add a couple of attributes to it, and make the text field look exactly the way we want it to be. Okay. First attribute I'm going to specify is an ID. I'm going to say note, because I'm going to create a note by typing in some words, right? So I'm just going to give this text field an ID of note. Do that. Second thing we're going to do is define something called a label. So you guys know how you might have noticed how in material design, when there's an input, there's like a default text that is visible inside it, right? In a lighter color, and the minute you click on it, that text will automatically move up, and it'll let you type in stuff. So that text that's there by default that moves up, that's what's known as a label. So we can put some text inside the label attribute. So I'm going to say create a new note dot dot dot, and that's going to show up as a label inside my text field. So once I have a label in place, I can specify a variant again. Again, Material UI variants for text field come in 3 different types: filled, outline, standard. I want filled because there's a specific look that I'm going for here with my entire application. So I'm going to say variant filled. Yeah.
On the camera and the like your face is like.
Oh, okay. Visible, right?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. Alright, so I put variant filled, and lastly we gotta put rows inside. So I'm gonna say rows equals 4. So this can be 4 rows. 4 looks pretty decent on the output. I already checked it, which is why I'm saying 4. You can modify this based on your requirements later on if you want to. So 4 rows, and I'm also gonna say class name, and I'm gonna say shadow SM. This is a bootstrap class, okay? Shadow SM is a bootstrap class. This is basically going to give the box a little shadow, so it looks like it's elevated off of the screen, okay? It's going to look a little, I don't know, 3D, is that what you call it? That thing. And full width, that's going to be an attribute by itself. No value for that attribute, just the attribute alone will do. So yeah, full width. So that's all we have to do with text field. Once you've done all of that, just check your output and see if your output looks nice. Okay, in sometimes it might have this should have broken the app. If it has, then just stop it and start it again. Just do Ctrl+C, Y, npm start again, and start your application again. It should be fixed by itself. You guys done? One more thing you'll have to add, is multi-line. That's another attribute by itself. Because if you don't add multi-line, it'll show up as one single line that can be entered. So just put multi-line. It'll automatically make sure that there's multiple lines that can be entered, which is basically 4 at this point. Do that. Once you switch to your output screen, it should look like this, right? You have a small box here, and you see a little label that says create a new node, and when you click on it, it basically goes to the top, and you can type in stuff here. Perfect. Or if you got the output, if you have, then just react to my message. Failed to compile. Jennifer, what you do is, yeah, that's why I said stop the app and start it again, because we created new files, right? Stop the app and start it again in case it says failed to compile. That's the most simplest fix. Okay, when you add new files, stop and start again. You should get the output. React to my message if you guys have figured out what to do and gotten the output. Guys, when I say stop and restart the app, I'm asking you to go into your command line, okay? Go into your terminal here and stop the application by doing Control-C, and then type Y, hit enter, it will stop the application. And then type npm start again, hit enter. It will restart your application. And if you go back to your browser, this should open as a new screen, as a new tab, sorry. And you should see the output. Okay? If in case it says failed to compile. That's the common mistake that a lot of you are doing. Even though you restarted the code, what exactly does... Okay, it says failed to compile. You probably made a mistake in the way you created the folders. Gayatri, it says failed to compile. Index.js does not match the corresponding name on disk. Can you send a screenshot of your code instead?
Inside components there should be a home. Then inside home there should be create node.
Yeah. Inside pages there should be components. Inside components there should be home. Inside home there should be create node. All folder names in lowercase, component name alone in upper camel case. Let me show you once more. I'll show you the VS Code thingy once more. Just make sure you have the exact same structure, okay? There's a source folder. Inside source folder you have pages folder. Inside source you have pages. Inside pages you have components. Inside components you have home, okay? Inside home you put create node.jsx. So then when you import it from on top in the actual home page itself, it will show up as expected. Just make sure you don't make that mistake of, rearranging the order of the folders and files. Make sure you have pages, components, home, and then create node. Just get the order right. All of you got it? Okay, Gayatri, let's see. Check your class name line. Yeah, class name spelling is wrong for you. Apart from which, on top you have a small error. Let's see. Your return statement has some error in it. Let's see. Selvar Prasad failed to compile. Did you install the material UI slash lab? Selvar Prasad, copy the exact command I sent in the chat. Material UI slash lab, not core slash lab. Copy the correct spelling and install the correct library. You installed the wrong library. And the import statement should be material UI slash lab slash alert. Guys, let me know if it worked for you, if that was the error. What else? How many of you are stuck? You still have that error. Okay, wait, let me see. Same error, failed to compile. Components from create not. Yeah, you know what? All of you just take a screenshot of your file structure and show it to me. The left side of your screen, right? This part. Just take a screenshot of this part and send it in. Let me see if you have arranged it correctly. Okay, so output is different. That's because you didn't do these bootstrap classes correctly. If you put these bootstrap classes in correctly, it'll modify the width. Column MD8, all that stuff. Just make sure you have it correctly. Jennifer Leslie. Okay, pages. Okay, source, pages, components, home. Create node.jsx. Is create node.jsx inside home? Jennifer, just check if that's how you've done it. Close the home thingy and check if create node gets hidden. Rohan Jabraj, okay, let's see. Pages, components, home, create node.jsx. Sharwin, okay. Showers is also correct. Okay, so what exactly is the error all three of you are getting? Can one of you send the code? Okay, failed to compile. Did all of you try stopping the app and restarting it? Tried it many times. Can you do one thing? Can you send the code for your which file is that? Let me see your output once again. Ajay Narayan, you created a container, right? Put your form inside the container. Why is your form outside the container? Switch that in. It says failed to compile, can't resolve Firebase in. Okay. Components home. Show me the code for your create node.jsx, Ivan. Import use state. Okay, let's see. Even send us a screenshot of your Send a screenshot of your file structure on the left side. I think you've placed the Firebase file somewhere else. Guys, the others, can you just check who Fabi, Jacinton? Okay, can you guys just check the other outputs as well? Because we're losing time. Eva, make it quick. Send a screenshot of the file structure on the left side. If you've got the output, react to the message on top. Okay, scroll up and react to that message so I'll know how many of you are stuck. Okay, Jennifer, let's see. Okay, Jennifer, what you got to do is uncomment line 7. Yeah, uncomment line 7. It has to be there. Check shadow spelling. Yeah, shadow spelling is also wrong. But that's not the error. That won't cause a fail to compile output error. I mean, fail to compile error. Let's see. Okay, Ivan Winford, create node, pages components, home, create node.jsx. Okay, that makes sense. File name is wrong on export. Yeah, Jennifer, that's your mistake. Your file name doesn't match the export. If the file name is create node.jsx, the export you have named it as create node.jsx. Change the error. Okay, perfect. Guys, if you have resolved your error, can you just scroll up and react to the output message? Just react that you've got the output, because I can't keep count. Let's see how many people. 18 outputs. Those of you who resolved it, please react to that message really quick. 19, 20. Who else? Okay, Salva Prasad output. Yeah, that's the one. React 21. Who else is stuck? Send your screenshots. Who else is stuck? Send another message at the bottom. So who else is stuck? Let's go in order. Or do you want me to call names? Call out names. Guys, do you want me to call out name by name now? Aiden Sergio Alexander, have you gotten the output?
Yes, Anna.
Okay. Jennifer Leslie, create node. Call it create node, NOTE. Rename the file to NOTE. Rename the export to NOTE. Because that's how you're importing it as well in the other file, the home file. So make the change in both places. Okay, who else? Abhishek, Ironic, can't resolve create node in source pages, components, home, source pages. Your Ivan, your what do you call that? The variant that you specified is wrong, I guess. Or you've missed out class name. See, everywhere you've made class name mistakes. both on top on the logout function as well as Kritika. Let's see. Same error as Jennifer Leslie. Jennifer got the output. So what did she correct? She corrected the names of the files, and she got it. You got to correct. Function create node. $26 got the output. Okay, good. Got it. Okay. React to the message on top. How many people are remaining? I can't do a roll call. It's too many names. Guys, you tell me if you're stuck. Alright then, if you're not stuck and you've gotten the output, I'm just gonna assume you're ready to code again. So we're gonna start coding again. Next thing we're gonna do is, let's look at the output for a second. Okay, that works. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is we're going to try and connect this to Firebase, and we're gonna try and before that, let's add one more thing. Scroll all the way to the bottom, right below your text field, right? I want you to add another line here below your text field, and we're gonna add a little button. Okay, and the stuff inside the button is going to be create, and we're going to add a few variants, a few attributes of the button. For instance, I'm going to add the variant here. I'm going to say contain, and I'm going to say color primary, which is going to be dark blue, and we're going to give this some class names, and I'm going to say dflex, and I'm going to say ml auto. So dflex ml auto would basically push the button to the right side of the screen automatically, and I'm going to say mt3, which will give it a spacing of 3 units from the top, which is the text box, and I'm going to say text capitalize because I want the text inside the button to be capitalized, and I'm going to say font weight bold. Right, so once all of that is over, the next thing you would have to do is, yeah, that's about it. That's the entire button. There's one more thing you gotta add. Attach an on-click listener. Oh, sorry, this should be within braces. You're calling a JavaScript function. Okay, handle submit click. That's what I'm gonna name it. Handle submit click. So when you click this button, it's going to call a function called handle submit click. So do all of that. I'm just going to copy the entire set of attributes for the button, paste it in the chat. React to that message once you've finished. How is it a swear word? The Discord bot said that I typed in a swear word and it prevented me from sending the message. I don't know how. Anyway, just react to that message. $18 people. Make it quick, guys. 26. Okay, perfect. Next, what we're going to do is scroll all the way to the top, and over here we're going to create a function. As usual, we're going to create a function that's going to handle the whole on-click thingy. But before that, there's a small concept that I need to teach you, okay? Again, this has to do with state. So the problem is we need to create a state. How do I put it? We basically are going to create an array, and we're going to define a value in the array called state, and we're going to pass another variable called note into it, and you're going to set an initial value. It's exactly the same thing that we did with the private route component. Okay, so just follow the syntax that I'm giving you here. Say const, and we're going to create an array, and we're going to put two things inside this array. Set state, and I'm going to assign a function to this. Let's call this useState, and useState is then going to take in a JavaScript key value pair. Sorry. And this key value pair is going to be note, and it's going to be empty. So I'll tell you what this line does. First, just type in this line. I'll copy paste it in case you guys are stuck. React to that react to that message once you finish typing in these 3 lines. I'll tell you what it does after you finish typing it in. So basically what happens is we have an input box, right, this text field over here, and this text field has a certain you can give it some certain input, right? Now what we want to do is, as and when the user types an input into the text field, I want to capture that input, and I'm going to store it to a state variable called the note variable. So note over here is one of our state variables. So every time a user types something in, I want to capture it and put it into this note variable. So then what we can do is, when you click on the submit button or the create button, we can simply take whatever is stored in the state variable and then send it to Firestore, sorry. So I hope that made sense. State is basically nothing but data, right? So I'm defining a state for the variable note here, and this state is constantly going to be updated as and when a user types something into the text field. So I'm capturing the input and I'm writing it to the state. This state is then available throughout my component, and I can do anything I want with it. I can modify it from a different component. There's a whole bunch of options that I can do. So in order to do that, you would simply create an array, put the state and set state in, and you would call a React hook. This is what's known as a hook. So use effect, use state, all of these are hooks. So you call a React hook, and a React hook is nothing but a way of achieving a certain functionality in your application as a side effect. I don't know if that made a whole lot of sense. For instance, let's say your component is loading in the page. As it loads, I want you to make an API call and fetch some data. That's a side effect because your component will load. That's the main effect. The data being fetched in the background is a side effect. So in order to do all of these different side effects, you would use something called React hooks. So useState is one of those hooks which will basically monitor the state changes to your component. So as and when state inside your component changes, useState can basically manage the state that is constantly changing. So that's why you call useState, and then you pass the note variable in. So over here we have let's just write another function. I'll explain more as and when we write more code. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a function called handle change. Okay, so let's just call this const handle change, and we're going to define an event inside it and create an arrow function, and that's the syntax for handle change. And I'll tell you what handle change basically does. All of you just type that in. Set state and use state you guys haven't reacted to that message. Just react to that if you finished the use state functionality that I just taught you. (24, 25), come on guys, make it quicker. Copy paste, literally. This is not a big this is not something very fancy. It's simple. Just const name of the function, and you're specifying an event. So when you click on that, when you call that function, you're triggering an event. So I'm going to refer to that event as E. E is short for event. And once this happens, this event is taking place, I want you to execute code that is between these two braces. That's all that this does. Okay, that this is basically an arrow function. JavaScript is also called ECMAScript, ECMA ECMAScript, and this arrow function was introduced in ECMAScript 6. Today you have all the way up to ECMAScript 10. So there's like so many different versions, and you can use arrow functions now. Okay, 26 people. Okay, perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two different variables. So I'm going to say const, and I'm going to pass ID and value, and we're going to assign this to e.target. Just type that in first, and I'll explain what it does later. Okay. Type that line in, const ID value, and assign it to the target of the event. Once that is done, we're going to set state again. We've set the initial state on top, right? Now we're going to set another state. So what we're going to do is I'm going to say set state, and inside this we can let's say another pair of brackets, and I'm going to say previous state. And once I have my previous state, I'm going to take my previous state and I'm going to execute some more code inside this, and I'm going to say dot previous state. Let's say ID value. If this looks too complicated, don't worry about it. I'll copy the entire function and I'll send it in the chat. I'm going to explain. Let's not get too much. Let's not get into this, too much. I'll just give you a brief explanation of what this does. So all of you just write all this code and then respond to my message, react to my message really quick. By the end of the day, we should be able to push stuff into Firebase successfully, okay? Into Firestore. That's our aim. I'm going to complete the whole create node functionality today. So to 21 people, make it faster, copy paste if you can't type it all in. Doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense for now. I'll explain what it does. Okay. Okay, at the bottom what you do is go to your text field, okay? No, sorry, not your text field, go to your button. On your button, what you're going to do is we have an text field, sorry. Go to your text field, and inside your text field we're going to add some more attributes, okay? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an attribute called the on change. And to on change I'm going to say handle change. Okay, that's the name of the function that we just wrote, and I'm passing that function into the on change attribute. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create something called value, and we're going to set the value of this text field, okay? And the value is going to come from the state. Some of you might understand what's happening now, some of you might not. I'll explain it in detail. Just type in these two lines of code: on change, handle change, and value state dot not. Once you do that, I'll tell you what that does. React to my message once you finish doing that. Okay, make it quicker, guys. 18. Faster, faster. 20, 21. 23. Good, good. Okay, so I'm going to explain what this does. What happens is every time a person types some text inside your text box, right? Every time some text is typed, I'm going to trigger this function called handle change. So on change, what it does is it listens to the user's input and it checks if the user is entering something. If the value inside the text field is changing. If it changes, it'll trigger this function called handle change. What handle change does is, if you go on top, the handle change function will get called and it'll handle this as an event. Okay, and we're assigning the whole event to a constant called e. Now what we're going to do is, you can attach this handle change function. We can attach it to multiple elements, right? So you can have multiple text inputs, and you can attach the same function to each input. So the reason why we use this whole thing, right, e.target and this whole line, is because we want to target the specific input field that call this function. So when you say e.target, you're taking the input field that's specifically targeted and called this function, and we're going to take the value and the ID of that element. So we're going to take the ID of that element and the value, and we're going to create a state. So state is basically data that the component stores, right? So if you look at the set state method, we've already defined it on top, saying this is going to have a variable called node. So now what we're going to do is, over here at the bottom on set state, what we're doing is we're taking the previous state. So can anybody tell me what the previous state of this element is, of the node element is? Let me ask somebody. Let's go with Ironic. You tell me, what's the previous state of the node thingy? When I type some text into the text field, I trigger this handle change function. Handle change function is going to go to that input box, and it's going to get the value and the ID of that element. After which, it's going to take the previous state of that element. What is the previous state of that element? Previously, what data did it hold?
ஆக்சுவலாக நான் கொஞ்சம் லைக் லேக் ஆகிட்டேன். அந்த நடுவில் லேப்டாப் வந்து ஹேங் ஆயிடுச்சு. கொஞ்சம் பின்னாடி இருக்கேன்.
Okay. Let's go to Ajay Narayan. You tell me. You're smart enough to answer this. What is the previous data held by the node thingy in the input?
Is it empty, no?
Yeah, it is empty. Why? Because by default we are setting this to empty, right? So for the first time, when you call the handle change function, you're taking the previous state and you're passing it in as one of the arguments here. When you pass it in as an argument, the previous state is empty. After which you're passing the new state in. The new state is nothing but the value contained in the element that has the ID that triggered it. So in order to replace this whole thing and to show you how this works, let me just copy it. Let me just snip it. We'll go to the whiteboard for a second, and I'm going to draw this and explain this to you guys so it'll be easier. Whiteboard, okay. And over here, let's paste it in. Okay, perfect. Are all of you following up until here? I just want to make sure that none of you are distracted and you're following along, because we're going to reuse the same concept for any type of input throughout the application. It's the common procedure, okay? No matter what application you build, this is how you build real-time state monitoring and to React applications. React to my message if you've been following along so far and you're ready to get into this new concept, okay? $22 reactions. What about the others? You guys ready to follow along? Okay, perfect. So now what happens is we have this whole function here, right? And on our page somewhere let's just erase this for a sec. Yeah, somewhere on the bottom of our page we have a small input box, right? This input box will call every time you type some text into the input box. You're going to call this function, the handle change function. And this input box has two different things attached to it. One, it has an ID. So the ID over here is note. That's the ID of this input box. And this also contains some value inside it, right? By default, the value is set to empty. But as you type new stuff in, the value changes. So what happens is every time you type something in, you trigger the handle change function. The handle change function would then register that as an event. Okay, so the E over here stands for event. So it's going to create an event, and this is going to check which element on the page triggered that particular event. In this case, it is an element with an ID of note, right? So it's going to say, hey, there's an element on the page, there's an input box on the page whose ID is note, and this is the element that called me. So I'm going to target that specific element alone, and I'm going to take its ID and its value. So the ID over here would basically be note, and the value over here would be, for instance, let's say I type in the word hello. Okay, the new value over here would be hello. Are all of you following up until here? Let me check if you're following. That's step 1. Okay, I'm just gonna type 1. Respond to the message if you followed up until here, if this made sense to you. Make no mistake, get this into your head. It should be crystal clear, because if you screw this up, all the other React code that you write when you're handling inputs and doing complex stuff like this will not make any sense. Learn the concept of state management in React really well. Okay, right, so all of you have pretty much understood up until this point. Okay, so we have the ID, which is note, and the value, which is hello. Next, what we have to do is we have to take that element that called it, and we have to set the state. So the state is basically held in RAM, right? The state is held in the RAM. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the set state function that we created above. It's somewhere above in the code. We already defined it, remember? So we're going to call the set state function, and we are also going to take in something called the previous state. Okay, the previous state basically refers to the original state of the element with the ID node. The original state was that it was empty, right? In the starting it was empty. So in the RAM, the value of note has been empty so far. There's no value held inside it. So your previous state is basically empty. So you're taking the previous state and you're passing it in as a first argument. The second argument would be the ID, which is basically NOTE, note, and the new value, which is hello. You're passing it in. So now what you're basically telling setState to do is to take the previous state, delete it, and then replace it with the new state, which is hello. So now if anybody goes back to the RAM, if your React application were to go back and check its state variables, it would find the note as a state variable, right? And the new value would be set to hello. So let's say I say hello world. Okay, I just type the word world inside the input now. Again, I'm going to trigger this function handle change, and it's going to see that the ID is note and the text inside is hello world, and it's going to take hello world, and it's going to take the previous state. The previous state now in RAM is what? The previous state of the RAM is now this, right? Hello. So the previous state will be hello, and the new state will be hello world. So it will replace the previous state with the new state. So once that is done, your state is always in sync with the user's interaction. So as and when I input new data into the input box, it automatically updates the state in the background. So handle change will run whenever even a single value is modified in the input box. Okay, did all of you understand the whole concept of setting state and how we're handling changes in inputs? If you have, then please respond to my latest message. I hope that made sense. If it did, then the rest of it should be pretty easy for you guys to understand. Also, it's not like you guys have to like memorize the syntax and all that. After you guys build this application, it's the same thing for every application. So it's a matter of just copy pasting this code and modifying it based on your needs, you know. Which is why I'm making sure you guys understand this really well. 24.
I doubt now.
Yeah.
What does the 3 dots represent now in the previous state?
That's just the syntax for the previous state thingy. That simply means previous state. The 3 dots would basically refer to the previous state of the what do you call it? The variable that you're targeting in the state memory. That's just the syntax of how previous state is targeted.
Okay, man. So we are deleting the previous state and updating with the next line.
Yeah. No matter, you can call previous state anything you want to. It doesn't have to be the word previous state. You can give this any name you want, but the 3 dots are mandatory. That's just the way it does. Does the state change for each key press? Yeah. Secondly, the state changes for each key press. That's basically what handle change does. I showed you an example with words, but it actually changes for every character inserted.
Yeah, no.
Okay, now.
Okay, click on the React button if you understood. I need to know how many people are remaining. Idile nariya time poiduchu. 24 guys, react to the message if you understood. Who else? 4 of you remaining. 4 if you didn't get the concept. 27. 3 people remaining. 28, 29. Perfect. 30. But let's just say one person stuck on YouTube or something. I'm gonna go back to the code. Let's just finish this. I want to finish this and show you guys the output as soon as I can today. Okay, so we have handled change. Last thing that we need to do is we need to handle the actual submission into Firebase itself, right? So here's what you're gonna do. Go to the bottom, and at the bottom you have the button, right? And you have handle submit click over here. So we have to create this function now. So we're gonna create a function above the return statement. Let's just call this const handle submit click. Okay, again we're going to register an event, and we're going to do an arrow function, and we are going to handle this event by saying e.prevent I'll tell you what this does again, okay? In case you guys are stuck, I'll explain what every line does. Okay, next what I want you to do is you are going to console .log the state.node. Like I said, state updates every single time a button is pressed or any change is made, right? So state updates in real time. You can access it by simply doing state dot the name of the variable from the state whose value you want to obtain. So state.node will give you the latest value of the node variable in state memory, okay? So I'm just going to console log it so I can see it on my console, and after which we are going to do some Firebase code. So you guys get ready to write some Firebase code now. I'm going to copy paste it. You guys just paste it into your it's literally from the Firebase documentation, so you don't have to worry about the way it looks or anything. Give me a sec. Let's see. Wait a sec. I think I made a mistake. I'll just copy it, paste it again. Okay, first of all, what I want you to do is just type in. Let's type in for a little bit. I'll copy paste exactly the stuff from Firebase alone. Okay, so first what you want to do is create a variable. Let's call this db. Okay, db is going to be firebase dot firestore, and boom. So I've created a reference to a database inside Firestore. Okay, my Firestore has a database inside it, right? You guys don't have it yet, but we're going to create it soon. Okay, so just do firebase.firestore. It's going to take the Firestore database that is associated with this project, and it's going to assign it to the db variable. So you can use the db variable to refer to the database that is on your Firestore application. Okay, do this line, and let's do some modification to our Firebase code. If the sooner you guys finish, the sooner I'm gonna let you go today, because we started at what 7ish. So try to finish it by then. I'll let you go. If you don't, then there is no way I can stop this in the middle of a logical section. I can't just say, leave and come back on Monday. You won't remember anything. There won't be any point in me teaching all these concepts right now. So keep up the pace. Finish it really quick. Next, what I want you to do is go to your browser really quick, and let's go to Firebase. And once you go to Firebase, I want you to click on Firestore database on the left side. So when you open Firestore database, there is no database. It says create database. Are all of you following up until here? React to my message if you guys have followed all the way up until here. Open Firebase, go to Firestore database on the left side, make it very clear there is two types of databases, real-time database and Firestore database. I want you to open Firestore database, okay, not the wrong type. Open Firestore database. Do it, react to my message really quick. Guys, make it really quick. Firebase.google.com, console, select the project, Firestore database, and you should have this page. Come on guys, make it quicker. You're wasting time. We got only 15 minutes more. 23. Alright, those of you who came to this page, click on create database. It gives you two options, right? Start in production mode, start in test mode. If you start in production mode, I'll have to teach you how to write Firebase Firestore rules, which I don't have time for. So click on start in test mode. In test mode, there's default read and write access from anywhere. So just do start in test mode and click on next, okay? Test mode, click on next. After which, this part is important. It'll ask you why you want to store your database. So you have multiple locations across the world, and you need to pick which location is closest to you. Most of us are from India, so you just gotta pick Asia South 1. Asia South 1 is in Mumbai, so just pick Asia South 1 as your location. For instance, if you're some place in Europe, like Italy or whatever, you would pick Europe West 3. That would be your location, okay? So if you're from India, Asia South 1 is what you would pick. That's a data center in Mumbai. Do that and click on enable. It should provision your Cloud Firestore database on the cloud right now. All of you do that. After you provision it, just click on the Pattarai logo and react to that message really quick. Right, so once you've created it, it should look like this. It'll say error loading collections failed to load, blah blah blah. That's basically because you don't have any collections yet. We'll create one pretty soon. Okay, that's all you have to do. That's it. The database is set up and it's ready to be used. Don't do anything extra. Just calm down, leave it as it is, close the browser, and let's just go back to our coding. So once you've done that, react to that message. "25 people have finished." Make it faster, guys. Are you guys waiting? Okay, I'm gonna go back to my coding, and we are going to start writing code to push it to Firebase. So I have created a reference to my database on the cloud, on Firebase, on Firestore. I've created a reference to my database, and once that is done, we are going to do a sample checking case. If you notice at the bottom, my text field has an ID of note, right? So when a person enters some text in and hits create, it has to create a Firestore document. The problem is, what if the person doesn't enter anything? They simply click on next, on create. I didn't want an empty note to get created, right? So we're gonna check that case. So all you gotta do is just say if state dot not double equal to, sorry, just do not equal to empty. Then we're gonna do a whole Firebase thingy. In case it doesn't happen, we're not gonna do anything. Just leave it as it is. So just do state dot not equal to empty. You're checking if the input box is empty or not. You don't have to directly target the input box because the input box is part of the actual DOM. You're going to have to target the elements from the virtual DOM, which is why you're checking the state instead. So do state dot not equal to empty. In case it is not equal to empty, you're going to push whatever data is in the state to a Firestore document. So the way you're going to create a Firestore document, that again is entirely from the Firestore documentation. So I'm just going to copy paste the code. Copy paste it. Don't waste time trying to like write stuff in, and because the longer you do that, the longer we're going to stay here. Okay, so then here what we're going to do is I'm going to paste the code in. I'm going to paste the code in the chat. Copy paste the code. Don't type it in. Don't waste time. Copy paste it. This is directly from the Firebase documentation. You don't have to memorize it. You can copy paste it from the docs. React to my message once you've copy pasted it really quick. Guys, come on, 10 minutes more. We can actually finish this. However, there's one small problem. The document gets created, but what we have to do is we have to clear the input, right? The input box has to be cleared after you successfully create a note on the Firestore database, right? So what do you have to do in order to clear the input? Can somebody tell me? Let me pick a random person. If you have an issue with that, you tell me.
Yeah, no.
How do you clear the input box now?
So on the set state we have defined that we are updating the value, right? So we have to clear.
So you're saying call set state and make it empty.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted. So what you do is over here it says on line 33 for me, it says document written with ID and some docref.id, right? That means the document has been created successfully. Underneath it, I want you to create a set state function, okay? Do set state, and we are going to set the state. What do you have to do? First thing that you pass in previous state, right? Previous state, and this is going to be an arrow function, and we're going to write some more JavaScript code inside this, and that JavaScript code is going to take in two different arguments. Previous state, and the second one would be note, and we're saying note is going to be empty. So previous state gets replaced with an empty state. So state basically gets set to empty. So your input box also updates in real time, and it clears the, what do you call it? It clears the input box as well. So that's all you gotta do. I'm gonna copy paste that code in case you guys are lagging behind. Done, right? Set state is empty now. React to that message if you've completed all this code, okay? React to it really quick. There's one little problem, guys. On top, what you do is on line 24, after line 24, we forgot to make a small reference over here. Just do const note is equal to state dot note. Okay, just add that line in, because everywhere inside we have added the word variable note, right? It doesn't have any value yet. It's undefined basically. So I forgot to import it and assign it to a variable here. So just add this line here that says const node equals state dot node. Okay, react to that message once you finished adding that line in. Make it quick, guys. If you've done all of this, then it should work just the way it's supposed to. All of you done? React to that message. 27 people have reacted to that message. Okay, perfect. Once that is done, I'm going to show you the output now. Go back to our browser, and you guys should be able to see that. I'm going to type in a note now. I'm going to say hello world, and I'm going to click on create, and the input gets cleared. So now the input is missing, which means the state got written and then it got deleted after Firebase updated it. So go back to our Cloud Firestore, and I'm going to refresh the page, and as you can see that there is a small creation, there's a small collection called notes, and I have added a document here with my note here, hello world, and the time it was created, right? So let's go back to my output here. Let's say my name is Danny, and create, gets cleared. Go back to Firestore, and I have a second document with my note here. So you have a whole working component that pushes notes to Firebase. All of you got the output? All of you got the output? Just react to my message if you have a fully working output. After which, this next part is going to take about 5 minutes. If you guys follow along really quick, we'll just finish it. The only thing remaining is that I want to add a little snack bar at the bottom. That's just going to take 5 minutes. We already have the imports for that. We just got to write like 3 or 4 lines of code, and we should have a working snack bar. And this is Saturday, so I don't want to like leave this undone. I want to finish this component and move on to the next one on Monday. So just cooperate with me. Fifteen people got the output. How many remaining? 16. Okay, good. All of you getting the output. 18. Think of this as a starter template to your first React application that you're building, in case this is your first one. Even after the workshop is over, you guys can work on this a little more. You could probably add, say, a drawer on the side with menu links. You can add more functionality like changing the password, adding a profile page, I don't know, adding media, and there's like a whole bunch of things you guys can do to this if you're interested in this. So you can use this as a starting template engine and then work on this by yourself, you know. $23 people got the output. Good. 7 more. Are you guys stuck? 24. Okay. $24, $25. Okay, let's see. If I press create, it does not clear nor save it in Firestore. You probably made a mistake with the way you've updated with the way you're handling a state. Okay, let's see. Jennifer Leslie. Okay. Do you have an error, Gayatri? Okay, you're just doing it for reference. Okay, good. Abhishek, put some content inside your button. Put the word create inside your button. Empty button vechirukka. $26 got the output. Who else? Jennifer. can't resolve pages / Firebase. Okay. Show me the code for the oh wait, just yeah, okay. Perfect. Done. 27, 28. React to the message if you've gotten the output, so I'll know if you've gotten it. Alright, I think we can go back to the code, right? Let's just go back and continue coding again. What we are going to do is, okay, first thing, we're going to create something called an alert, okay? We're going to create a new function on top. Go to the top of your page and let's create a new function. Keep up the pace. It's only like 10 lines of code probably, and we're done. We'll get like a really good satisfying output. So let's do function alert, and we're going to pass a prop into this alert, and I'm going to say return, and we're going to return an alert button, okay? I'm going to say UI material UI alert and self-closing thingy, and I'm going to say elevation 6. I'll paste this code for you guys, okay? Variant equals filled, and it's going to contain props. So whatever props I pass to it is going to just get returned inside it, okay? So that's a function I'm creating for the alert, for the snack bar alert thingy. I pasted it. React to that message once you have this written to your application. Really quick. Copy, paste, type, whatever. Just make sure you get it done. Make it really quick. Right below that function, I'm going to create another state holder, and I'm going to say open, and I'm going to say sorry, open and set state, and we're going to use state on this one, and I'm going to say false. I'm setting open to false at the moment, and I'll tell you why we need this line. So basically put this line also in. I'll tell you why we need it. Just those two lines. Copy paste it, guys. Only 12 of you have done it. Keep up the pace. Come on. 7, 10. The more you delay, the more you'll be stuck here. 15, 16. It's nothing difficult. Just go to the top of your function and add this function that I sent, the alert function. I'll explain what the code does later. And below it, just do a set state operation where you set the initial state of the word open to false. So this is basically going to control when the snack bar should open or close. So by default it is false, so the snack bar remains hidden. Next thing what I want you to do is, let's see. Oh, okay, I'm sorry guys, we made a small mistake. We'll have to change this to open. Set open over here. Just make that small change, line 14, change it to set open, not set state. I'm defining a custom (1916). Okay. Once that is done, at the bottom I want you to create another function. Let's call this const handle close, and you don't need an event inside it. I'm going to say set open to false. Okay, so every time I want to close my every time my snack bar gets open, the set open function is triggered, and it will set the value of open to true. And once it is open, I can close it by clicking on a small X mark. When I click on that little X mark, it's going to call the handle close function, which will set open back to false again. So the snack bar gets closed. That's all it does. I'm going to copy the code. Gotta send it into the chat. Copy paste again. It's just copy pasting, so I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to start writing the next code. Right below your div, right? at the end, right before your empty tag, right after your div, I want you to create the actual snack bar, okay? So let's say snack bar, and inside your snack bar, I want you to put an alert, okay? Okay, and your alert is going to contain some text inside it, and I'm going to say node created successfully. Okay, all if you do that, and your snack bar is going to have a couple of attributes. One, when snack bar is okay, we're going to set this to open, and next what I'm going to do is I'm going to say auto hide duration, and I'm going to say 6000, so it'll automatically hide itself after 6000 milliseconds. And on close, I'm going to call handle close. So when I try to close the snack bar, it will call the handle close function, which will set the value of open to false at the on top, and the snack bar will close. The alert has another attribute that it has to take in. We'll do the on close thingy over here, and let's just say handle close again, and another attribute that says severity. Severity will basically let you define what type of alert you want to show. It can be danger, success, warning, info, primary, whatever. So I'm going to say success, right? And I'm going to copy paste this entire code for you in case you need it, but just copy paste it and react to that message really quick. This is all the code we have to write. Our entire application is done now. The entire component is finished. Copy paste. I'm not asking you to write any code. Copy paste it. It's easy. If this is done and it works, you can leave. So paste. Make sure you paste this below the div. Okay, below the div. It shouldn't be inside the div. Below the div. Once you do that, go back to your browser, and we're going to test this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new node. I'm going to say hey, and click on create. Oops. Refresh the page. Let's see. Nope, there's some error. Let's see. What is the error here? Oh, okay. I think we missed out something on here which is stopping. Oh, yeah. Okay, we missed out one piece of code in between. On top, if you go on top, you see the part where we have the Firebase function writing the data to the Firebase Firestore database, right? We forgot to open the snack bar over here, which is why you don't see it. So I want you to call a function here called set open, and we're going to pass the value of true over here. So do this right below the part where it says document written with ID above set state. Okay, just paste that in. It should open the snack bar. Okay, once the document gets successfully written. So get that done and click on react to that message, after which you should get your output just the way it should work normally. Okay, click on create, and that'll open a small pop-up at the bottom that says node created successfully. So you can close it, or you can just type in anything you want, click on create, and you can just let it be. It'll close itself automatically. And if you go back to your Cloud Firestore, you have all those different nodes created. That's about the that's the entire component itself. So that's the output that I wanted you guys to get. If you've gotten it so far, react to my latest message that says output, and if you've gotten the output and it all works, you can leave. Thank you for staying back, and I hope to see you on Monday.